I've been trying to wipe a smile off my face since Sunday, but I haven't been able to. Every once in a while, something happens in auto racing, in the motorsport world, that reminds you why you're such a fan of motorsport racing to begin with. Pierre Gasly gave us one of those moments this last weekend by becoming a first-time Formula One Grand Prix winner and doing it, creating one of the greatest Hollywood stories that I can remember in Formula One, and doing it at a time where Formula One needed something like this to happen because it was under constant scrutiny of being boring or becoming boring because of domination by 1 to 2 teams and realistically one driver. But this last weekend, that wasn't the case. Pierre Gasly delivered one of the greatest stories that we've had in a really long time in Formula One, and that's what I want to talk about in today's video. But first, if you're new to my channel, I am Greg Allen, your host of Greg Allen Formula One. Please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to my channel. I post new videos 2 to 3 times a week on Formula One and all things motorsport. But let's talk about Pierre Gasly. What he did this last weekend was thrilling. It's the only word I can really that comes to my mind. Everyone that watches Formula One, and I'm going to go through the brief history, but I think most people watching this channel know what Pierre Gasly has been through over the last 15 months of his life. And I think that's what makes this such an emotional victory for not just Pierre, not just his fans, but anyone who watches Formula One racing and anyone who's involved with this community. You could not have asked for this to happen to a better driver on the circuit that isn't already a winner, like a Hamilton or a Verstappen. For drivers that are looking for their first win, I think if you took a fan poll before this weekend, if they could pick one driver to get that win, I think most of the fans would have said Pierre Gasly. So let's take a quick look at his brief history and why that's the case. In 2015, Pierre Gasly signs to be a Red Bull reserve driver, putting him into the Red Bull Formula One program. In 2017, he makes his Formula One debut with Toro Rosso. In 2019, Pierre Gasly gets his dream shot. Daniel Ricciardo decides to shockingly leave Red Bull and opens up a seat to be occupied by Pierre Gasly. His promotion, though, only lasts 12 races. And if you haven't had a chance to watch the Formula One Netflix series, Drive to Survive, I recommend going to watch it because what you get to see is the incredible pressure that comes with occupying the number 2 seat at Red Bull, being at a top team, but maybe more importantly, and we'll talk about that over here, being the number 2 driver to a driver like Max Verstappen. 12 races, and Pierre Gasly gets demoted back down to Toro Rosso. We watched in a span of just 12 races in 2019, a driver go from having an incredible amount of confidence to having that confidence completely rattled, destroyed, and it ultimately ended up in costing him his job in the top team at Red Bull. Very shortly after that, he loses one of his best friends, Antoine Hubert, in a Formula 2 crash. And it's a shocking death that, was horrifying, everyone that was watching that last year. So in the span of just a couple of weeks, he gets demoted from his dream job at Red Bull and loses one of his best friends. And then he makes a decision. And that's really what happens here. Pierre Gasly makes a decision. There are 2 ways that your career can go when something like this happens to you. Way number 1, you can fall into non-existence and irrelevance and let it get to you, let the pressure build up in you, and you don't rebound or recover your career. Or you can do what Pierre Gasly did. And what Pierre Gasly did was he worked every single week to get better. More time in the gym, more time in the simulator, more time with his team, focusing on what he can do, where he can gain more speed at every single track, how he can interact with his team, now AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso at the end of that season, and become a better driver, a more complete driver, and be faster. And what kind of information can he relay to the team to become faster? What kind of information can the team relay to him that'll make him a stronger competitor on the Formula One grid? And that's exactly what Pierre Gasly did. And he was rewarded in Brazil with a fantastic run and a first career podium. And also notably, he has podiumed now in 2019 after being demoted, and the driver that was promoted to take his seat still is looking for a first podium into the 2020 season. Then you go to the 2020 season, and so far, Pierre Gasly has been amazing. I have talked about it in several other videos so far. I've talked about it in my power rankings last week. To me, Pierre Gasly could be driver of the year so far. There's an argument for it. He has been fantastic in the AlphaTauri team as the number one driver at AlphaTauri, which is something I'm going to talk about on this side of the board. He has shown how much he's improved from a year ago, how much he's not going to let the beginning of 2019 define his career, and how he's taking the ball and running with it, really, for lack of a better saying. And his strong start had him voted as driver of the week one week, has him climbing up the power rankings for, my power rankings or ESPN or whatever power rankings it might follow, and climbing up the driver standings. It has not gone unnoticed. And that all comes together in what, I can't even say it without getting a little emotional. It was one of the best Formula One races I've ever had the pleasure of watching, and just such an incredible outcome to watch Pierre Gasly race his way to his first Formula One Grand Prix win. Pierre Gasly had to earn this victory. Yes, he got out in front, but a great restart after the red flag, where he had some great maneuvers and overtakes to put himself in that position to when Hamilton had to come in for that penalty. He inherited the lead. But then we watched a 10-lap and really a 5-lap showdown between him and Carlos Sainz Jr. in the McLaren for him to earn that victory, including Carlos Sainz getting within DRS range and him battling that off. Now, would that have lasted maybe another lap or two? Maybe not, but it doesn't matter. He did what he needed to do to win the race and put on an amazing show in those last 5 laps, understanding what needed to do and how to conserve those tires and how to hold off Carlos Sainz for the amount of time that race was. Would he have gotten past another lap? Maybe. Doesn't matter. He did what he needed to do to win that race. And that, for everyone that was watching, I'm a McLaren fan. Typically, I root for the McLaren cars. There was no way I was rooting for Sainz to catch up to Pierre Gasly. Carlos Sainz is going to win races. He's a great driver. Lando Norris is going to win races. This was Pierre Gasly's moment, and I didn't want to see it ruined. And I don't think anyone watching that race wanted to see it ruined. I was standing there watching that race in awe and just so excited for him, for Formula One, and just anyone that got to experience that. That is why I watch Formula One racing, for moments like this. That leads me to the next part of this conversation and this video, though. Pierre Gasly is now podiumed and has his first career win. So 2 podiums, where Alex Albon, on the other hand, in the number 2 seat in the Red Bull, is under constant pressure the same way Pierre Gasly was. But there is a difference. Red Bull is standing behind Alex Albon in a way they did not stand behind Pierre Gasly a little over a year ago. So what are the 3 keys to Pierre Gasly's Red Bull future? Number 1, what exactly is Pierre Gasly's relationship with Red Bull, their management, and Christian Horner? I think this is a conversation that needs to be had because there is pretty much unwavering support for Alex Albon this season, and arguably Albon's having as many or more struggles than Pierre Gasly had when he sat in that Red Bull seat. So what happened during that time that Pierre Gasly sat in the Red Bull number 2 seat for 12 races that has Red Bull so 100% certain that they are not going to make a move and put Gasly back in the Red Bull in favor of Albon? You would think on face value that if all things being equal, we're judging everyone exactly equally, that at this point, Pierre Gasly has earned his right to go back to Red Bull. But when you take a look at some of the things that Christian Horner has said about this, I think he's performing well in the environment that AlphaTauri is giving him. The environment. That, to me, I can't read that in any other way, but the environment that Pierre Gasly was dealing with in Red Bull doesn't constitute success for him. It doesn't create success for him. That's very interesting wording. And, I try not to look too much into any single quote, but the environment that AlphaTauri provides him is allowing Pierre Gasly to succeed. I don't know if Christian Horner meant that the environment in AlphaTauri as a team is just overall better than the environment in Red Bull, or if the environment at Red Bull is just at such a high level that Pierre Gasly struggled in that environment, and with less pressure, he can do better in a situation like AlphaTauri. Either way, it's a pretty damning quote for Red Bull, if the way I look at it. The environment at AlphaTauri is in a place where you have a driver like Pierre Gasly that can podium and win, but in the better equipment, the quote-unquote top team of Red Bull, the environment doesn't exist for that. That's a problem with Red Bull, not Pierre Gasly, and certainly not AlphaTauri. but it certainly raises some red flags to me of what was going on at Red Bull in that environment that Pierre Gasly couldn't be successful in it. And is that really a Pierre Gasly issue, or is that a Red Bull issue? And that's one of my points on this board as well. Another good quote. Good to see Pierre is getting back up to speed, which is why he's still on the program. But we're happy with the way things are. I hate this quote for a lot of reasons, but number one, it comes off to me as Christian Horner and Red Bull are unwilling to admit that they probably made a mistake demoting Pierre Gasly. I came out and said that in other videos. They made a mistake demoting Pierre Gasly. It was unfair after 12 races to push him back down to Toro Rosso last year without giving him enough time to develop in that number 2 seat behind a driver like Max Verstappen. Going as far as saying it's good to see him getting back up to speed. Well, I don't know what races he's been watching, but he's been back up to speed since he got back to Toro Rosso last year. This isn't a, wow, it's good to see he had a great moment today. Oh, it's fantastic. You know, he had one good race. Awesome. Pierre Gasly has been up to speed ever since he got out of Red Bull. And saying something like, we're happy with the way things are, how can you be? AlphaTauri is looking better than Red Bull as a 2-car team right now. And saying something like, we're happy with the way things are, you can look at it 2 different ways. One, there was something, going back to the first point, or in this first point, going on with Pierre Gasly and Red Bull, the team and management there, that didn't click. Whether it be personalities or something that we're not privy to as fans of this sport that was going on in Red Bull that we don't know about. And they're much happier having Alex Albon in there. And maybe he just gets along with the crew, with the people in that pit box, or maybe it's just, you know, he gets along better with Christian Horner and management at Red Bull than Pierre Gasly did. Or the other thing you can look at is Red Bull are learning from their mistakes of a year ago with Pierre Gasly, and he's not going to be the beneficiary of that. Alex Albon is. Alex Albon, who's having similar struggles to what Gasly had, now has Red Bull standing behind him and with unwavering support because they saw what happened a year ago, and they don't want to make the same mistake twice. And if that's the case, I understand it. If you're Red Bull now, and you repromote Pierre Gasly, and Alex Albon goes back down to AlphaTauri, and AlphaTauri all of a sudden, Albon's up there and battling for podiums, maybe getting a podium and maybe getting a win, and Pierre Gasly's struggling at Red Bull, it just highlights all of the trouble at Red Bull in that number 2 seat again. So in this situation, if it's the latter, and it's more that they're learning from their mistakes of 1 year ago, and now they're standing behind their driver, that I can totally appreciate and I agree. But the way that Christian Horner worded that quote makes me feel like he is saying that there were issues with Pierre Gasly and someone or maybe some people at Red Bull, and they're happy with the way things are. And it also just came off as very blind to me of saying it's good to see him getting back up to speed. I don't like that at all. If you haven't been watching, Pierre Gasly's been up to speed, and F1 fans know that, other teams know that, so I want to know what Christian Horner is watching if that's what he's saying about Pierre Gasly right now. Number 2, key to his Red Bull future. AlphaTauri, what is it? So when we got the new name and we switched from Toro Rosso to AlphaTauri, we were told this is no longer Red Bull's junior team, but rather their sister team. But everything that we see about it, that's not how they've approached it. They still look at AlphaTauri as the junior team, and they still talk about it in the media like it's the junior team. But why is this a key to Pierre Gasly? Well, it's a huge key because if AlphaTauri is no longer the junior team, but rather a sister team, there is a strong argument to be made that maybe Red Bull as overall as a company, and I don't mean Red Bull Christian Horner, I mean Red Bull, the company that owns these 2 race teams, is onto something here. AlphaTauri is improving every single season. Their speed is getting better. They're climbing up the standings. They're starting to win that midfield. And maybe if they can create a sister team that is as fast or almost as fast as their Red Bull primary team, there's no need to promote Pierre Gasly. Gasly is an AlphaTauri, and he's seeing results that he didn't see in Red Bull, that they're not seeing in Red Bull in that second seat. And if that's the case, and they're a true sister team, and the intention moving forward, especially when we get into 2022 with the new cars, is to have 4 cars that could be equally as fast, and 2 different teams, but both equal sisters, as they've put it here, there's no need to promote Pierre Gasly back to Red Bull right now. In fact, it could be detrimental to his career. So if that's actually their intention for AlphaTauri, I think that Pierre Gasly is much better off in the situation at AlphaTauri where he's the number one driver now. It's not close. We've been watching this year what he's done compared to his teammate. It's not close. Pierre Gasly is a number one driver at now a pretty decent team that he's been able to podium with and win with. Some of their consistency, I'd like to see them a little bit further up, getting points. He's gotten points, I think, 5 out of 8 races this year, which is awesome. But a lot of his points have been, in that 7, 8, 9. If they could push that up just a few spots, I think they're as strong as the second seat. The number one seat in AlphaTauri is as strong as the second seat in Red Bull at this point. There are arguments to say the number one seat's already stronger than that seat. So if they can actually achieve sister team status here, I like the future of AlphaTauri. And if I'm Pierre Gasly, I'm willing to wait it out and see where that goes. But, who knows? Maybe the strategy there always was, Pierre is strong enough to be a number one driver at AlphaTauri, and we can get 4 cars looking really, really fast. If that's the case, I'd love to see it, and I'd like to see him stay there. Pierre Gasly has come out and said it's not up to him. It's not. It's up to the Red Bull organization of where they're going to place drivers, but maybe that's what they're looking at. Finally, number 3 is the mess at Red Bull. Max Verstappen and the issue with being the number 2 driver there, the Alex Albon issue. There is no doubt that Pierre Gasly's podium in Brazil and his win this last weekend, after getting demoted 12 races, as much as Red Bull might be trying to say this was all part of the plan, it has exposed a serious issue with management and that number 2 seat at Red Bull. There are a million videos, articles, and people in the media talking about this is a one-car team based around Max Verstappen. I think a lot of us got the vibe that when Daniel Ricciardo left Red Bull, it was because he saw the writing on the wall there. This was becoming a one-car team heavily favoring Max Verstappen. And I don't think you can argue that at this point. This team favors Max Verstappen, and they're doing everything to make sure Max is up front every week at the expense, possibly, of their number 2 driver. So much so that a driver of Daniel Ricciardo's status left for Renault, who were nowhere near Red Bull when he left. They bring in Pierre Gasly, who has shown he's a Formula 1 Grand Prix winner now, and a 2-time podium driver. They demoted him after just 12 races because it didn't work behind how much he struggled behind Max Verstappen. And now you got a good young talent in Alex Albon, who I 100% believe is an extremely talented driver. And I don't see a big difference, I should say, between him and Gasly. I will say this year, I think Gasly has raised his game to another level. But I think Alex Albon's capable of that too. But we're seeing how much he's struggling behind Max Verstappen, that number 2 seat, and being in that number 2 seat at Red Bull. They have management issues of that car right now. But yeah, the second seat at Red Bull is something that needs to be solved. And if you're Pierre Gasly, there's no reason to be promoted this season or demoting Alex Albon in the middle of this. Red Bull need to figure this out before they move any drivers around. And I think Alex Albon does deserve the vote of confidence to allow him to prove himself at Red Bull, something that Pierre Gasly didn't get, and that is very unfortunate for him. But I think Pierre Gasly might be of the mindset that things are going really well for him at AlphaTauri. And what's the point of going back up to a Red Bull team where they haven't figured it out yet? They are a one-car team. They won't tell you that, but they are. And if you watch Formula 1, you know they are right now. And they need to figure that out. And that's going to be really important for Pierre Gasly's future at Red Bull. These 3 factors of his relationship with the management at Red Bull F1, AlphaTauri, and are they going to be an actual sister team? And what is the status of that second seat? And when are Red Bull going to figure it out and stabilize that ride? And those 3 keys are 100% going to determine the future of Pierre Gasly. He has shown that he can win. He's shown that he can podium. He's shown that he can survive through an incredible amount of adversity. And we're not just talking about racing adversity. We're talking about life adversity. Losing one of his best friends. Losing his job. These are we look at this as, the race car drivers. This is his career. It's his job. He lost his job last year. And he's come through that adversity, become a better driver, and show that he can do it in the face of so much adversity that other drivers would have collapsed in. Those key factors are going to be what determines his career is. And Red Bull are going to have to decide, the organization of Red Bull, do we have 2 teams that are equal? we're intending to make equal, and we're going to have Pierre Gasly lead this team, Max Verstappen lead this team, and then have our secondary drivers? Or is Red Bull Racing the top team and AlphaTauri is still our junior team? And if that's the case, after this season, you're going to have to assess Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly. And I don't know right now, at this point, 8 races in, if you can make an argument saying that Pierre Gasly doesn't deserve that number 2 seat. But it's just going to come down to, what are the numbers? And have they figured out that second seat and the mess that it is right now? Is AlphaTauri supposed to be a sister team? And what is Pierre Gasly's relationship with Red Bull and Christian Horner? Because obviously, something on face value and at top level isn't adding up here. He's being judged differently than Alex Albon is this year, and he's outrunning Albon. So what is going on behind those scenes? Those are the 3 key factors. If you like this video, please give me a like and consider giving me a subscribe. I always appreciate you watching it. I'm very grateful for the viewers that I have. And thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.